Good Tuesday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Tuesday so far. I am your meteorologist, Jess Peterson, and let's go in and talk about the weather for your Tuesday evening going into your future. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Tuesday. And we have a couple of things we have to talk about. First off, we do have a poll inside the chat right now. And it is a very important poll, which I hope everyone please go on and vote in if you have not already. It has to do with the stream times, and obviously will give me a lot of insight. So if you have not went to the poll yet and voted in it, please go on and do so because that is very important. Not only is that important, but also something else that's very important is hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and the share button. Because we are at 567 subscribers. We are 8 subscribers away from 575, and we are 33 subscribers away from that main goal of 600 subscribers. We are getting so close. So make sure that you go on and hit the subscribe button if you have not already. And even if you have done it, hit the share button as well. Guaranteed there probably might be somebody that you can think of that you have not sent it to yet, that have not hit the subscribe button yet. But now let's go on and talk about what we are going to talk about today. Obviously, the tropics, Hurricane Erin, or Tropical Storm Erin now, and we're going to talk about Hurricane Erin and for the future. We're also going to talk about the flash flooding that will continue as we go through the next 5 days or so, and then we'll also talk about the scattered shower and storm risk as well, and then a warm up as we get through the end of the week and potentially even reaching heat advisory criteria. So that's all the things that we're going to talk about for tonight. So let's go on and talk about the current stuff first before we get into any of that long-term stuff. And looking at the radar right now, we do have some rainfall right now. We have rainfall going on over here near Bishopville, just to the south of Bishopville and just to the east of Camden, going towards Maysville, going towards Atlanta, Lake City, going down towards Georgetown, shower activity down there. Litchfield Beach also has some as well. And if you move down up here to the upstate, Greenville's getting some isolated shower activity, moving up to Walhalla, getting some rainfall, Salem's getting some rainfall, and Pickens and Easley all getting some rainfall activity right now. But those are the only locations that are really receiving rainfall right now. If we look at what's going on throughout the entire United States, though, we do have some rainfall that goes in Georgia, goes in North Carolina, goes in Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, getting in on some of that rainfall, moving down into Texas, going into Arizona and New Mexico, rainfall going on in Montana, even down into the southwest. Oregon also has some rainfall going into Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. All of those places have a chance for some rainfall as we move through our receiving rainfall right now. We also have a tornado warning up there, but that's all the way up in Canada, though, so that's nothing to do with the U.S. Cloud cover right now is mostly cloudy. Cloud cover especially moving through the upstate, moving through the PD, moving through the Grand Strand, moving through the Low Country, Midlands as well. But yes, you do have some clear spots here and there. In terms of cloud cover, and that was expected. If you were there this morning, you know what was going on. And if we go into cloud cover for the future, if we go in and push this forward, you can see that cloud cover activity will continue to kind of make a little bit of a statement and stay, but you still will have that clear spots here and there. And even by time, because this right here is around 7, 8, 9, 10 a.m., going into around 11 a.m., and going into that afternoon hours, that cloud cover really starts to get going a lot and starts to get moving more into like the low country, because you can see as you start off, low country has a lot more clear spots than pretty much almost any other part, but then it kind of moves up towards the upstate to when they start getting some more clear spots during the afternoon. But things can change, but that's just what the models show for right now. Current temperatures right now are 80 in Columbia as well as 79 in Orangeburg, 81 in Somerville as well as 80 in Georgetown, 80 in Murrells Inlet as well as Myrtle Beach, 78 in Conway and 80 in Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, 79 in Florence and 78 in Hartsville, 82 in downtown Charleston as well as 78 in Greenwood, 79 in Newbury as well as 82 in Beaufort, 83 in Hilton Head Island. And if we move up here towards the upstate, if I can go in and move it, 76 in Greenville as well as 77 in Spartanburg and Gaffney, York, Rock Hill, Clemson, Anderson, all 77 degrees. Low temperatures for tonight, 71 in Greenville and Spartanburg. Rock Hills included. Newbury has 72. Greenwood has 72. 74 in Columbia, Orangeburg, Sumter, Florence, all at 74. Moncks Corner, Walterboro at 74. 77 in Charleston and 75 in Georgetown. 76 in Myrtle Beach and 78 in Hilton Head Island. Now for your rainfall for tonight, a lot less rainfall than that we will receive tonight going into tomorrow than what we have been receiving for the past couple of days. And the past couple of forecasts showed pretty much a widespread just area of people getting rainfall. It's a lot more on the lesser side, and you actually see some spots that won't get any rainfall, which there probably were some areas, me included. Well, no, it did rain today. I do take that back. It did rain today. But there probably was a couple of regions that probably did not get rainfall for the past couple of days, even though that it showed that everyone could potentially get that 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch or a 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch. But if you look at the past forecast compared to this one looks a lot less on the lesser side, and the totals do as well. I mean, we have a lot more areas that might only get a 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch. That goes for Greenwood, going into Columbia, to Aiken, to Walterboro, to Moncks Corner, to Myrtle Beach, to other parts of the coastal regions as well, Kingstree, Camden. And then a 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch goes for Rock Hill. And then also Newbury is included in there, Barnwell is included in there, and then a quarter of an inch to a half an inch for Anderson going into Greenville and Spartanburg. But that's it for the quarter of an inch to a half an inch and just the rain totals in general. The crazy score, we're at a 23. We are at a 23 for tonight. And no, I'm not going live tonight, just for a 23. But that's the mild category, probably most likely because of that cloud cover, and then obviously the other rainfall activity that's going on throughout the state right now. As we move into the SPC outlook, though, this is for tonight. Thunderstorm activity not expected much for over there on the eastern side, near Myrtle Beach, Conway, Loris, in those places over there, but thunderstorm activity is possible for everyone else. That goes all the way from just to the west of those areas. Includes the entire low country, all the Midlands, all the upstate. And as you move into tomorrow, actually for Wednesday, the entire state has a chance for a thunderstorm on Wednesday, and same thing for Thursday as well. Everyone has a chance for a thunderstorm on Thursday, August the 14th. Now for excessive rainfall, we do in fact also have a chance for some excessive rainfall as we move through tonight, even though, again, I believe that most of that risk has most likely gone away. You can still see some more rainfall tonight. So will the slight risk go down? Possibly. Will it just become a marginal risk? Possibly. But for now, that slight risk is still up there, so we're going to act like it is still there, and you still do have a chance for some scatter flash flooding that goes up over here for Greenville going into Seneca, Anderson, Lawrence, Newbury, Winsboro, Chester going over there into York and Gaffney. And then we also do have a marginal risk of excessive rainfall that goes for Edgefield all the way through Columbia, through Camden, through Florence, through Myrtle Beach, Moncks Corner, Latson, Georgetown. All those places have a chance for some minor flooding as you move through tonight, but again, that could change as the new outlook hasn't even came out yet. So this is it at tomorrow. This is tomorrow right here for Wednesday morning going into Thursday morning. This one actually is active as we do have a slight risk, so some scattered flash flooding is possible tomorrow going into tomorrow night up here for Greenville going up towards Pickens, Walhalla, Travelers Rest. And then a marginal risk that takes over all of the rest of the upstate, most of the Midlands, and the entire PD and Grand Strand region. Eastern Low Country does have that chance in Eastern Berkeley and Charleston County, but everyone else does not have any sort of threat. Now for day 3, everyone has a chance for some isolated flash flooding on Thursday. So make sure again that you are watching for that as you move into Thursday. Day 4, same exact thing. Isolated flash flooding or minor flooding is possible on Thursday. And then Friday, we take a huge step to the east as the upstate no longer has a threat for any sort of excessive rainfall anymore. But over here, inside of the Midlands, going over into the PD, Grand Strand, Low Country, all has a chance for some excessive rainfall on Friday. I believe this is Saturday, because day 1, this is Tuesday night. This is tomorrow, which is Wednesday. This is Thursday. This is Friday. And this is Saturday. So, actually, yes, Saturday. But that's all pretty much for the excessive rainfall outlook. Let's go on now, since we're here, and talk about the models. So we're going to go on and talk about the short-term models here first. Time is in the top right corner of your screen. Make sure you go in and pay attention to that. As you go in and push this forward tonight, you can see a lot of that rainfall will actually start to dissipate as we go through around 12 to 1 a.m., except for up there in the upstate. Look up there. You can see that we do, in fact, have some rainfall that will be ongoing even as we move through the early morning hours. But by the time we get to around 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, most of that shower activity will have moved off into North Carolina and out of our hair. And we actually will have a pretty dry, at least a dry late morning going into the early afternoon time frame. Even to 2 o'clock p.m., you're not really seeing a whole bunch. But that does not mean that we're going to be dry for the rest of the day, as we have more rainfall and more shower and thunderstorm activity moving through, rather that be over there in the Grand Strand or rather that be over in the Low Country. Rainfall and thunderstorm activity continues all the way through to 9 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. And it's relatively isolated to scattered. You're not seeing anything widespread or anything like that, but you are seeing a lot of isolated to scattered activity. But once we get to 12 o'clock in the morning, this is also something that we're watching for, especially for that excessive rainfall as well. Look at all that shower and thunderstorm activity over there to the west, pushing in from Georgia. And that will push through, bring rainfall activity through the Midlands, bring it through the upstate, bring it through the parts of the Low Country as well, even though it won't be a lot. Same thing for the PD region over there in the eastern side. You know, it's not going to be as much as it was when it pushed in, but it still will pack some rainfall with it. And then by the time you get around 7 to 8, 9 a.m., you're still just seeing isolated shower activity on August the 14th. And then the afternoon hours come by and you start to see, again, more shower and thunderstorm activity pop up in the southern Midlands and Low Country area. So, from the main summary for this, as we move through the next 48 hours, is that rainfall activity will be possible tonight, especially up there in the upstate. And then as we move into tomorrow, it'll start off fine, but then more rainfall comes along as the hours progress, especially as you go into like midnight on Thursday. So let's go on and talk about our long-term future. So this is the next 300 to 400 hours or so. As we go on and push this forward, you can see that active weather will continue as we continue all the way through August the 16th and the 17th. But once we get to around the 18th and the 19th, you'll see that we actually will have a little bit of a decrease in terms of some shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, there is a high pressure that is over us, and that's why we're not receiving too much of that widespread rainfall. But especially as you get through to around that 18th and that 19th time frame, you're not going to see a whole bunch. But once we get through to the 20th and the 21st, a low pressure shows up, and that brings some shower activity as well. That will continue all the way through August the 22nd. I mean, you're just seeing a lot of rainfall go on there. And then some more drier conditions pull through by around the 23rd, the 24th coming along. And once we get to around like the 25th, we really can't talk about in-depth analysis, but we can just talk about pattern activity, and it just shows to be like a little bit on a calming trend as a high pressure takes over for the end of August. And we've been talking about the end of August for, almost a week now at this point. I've been talking about how the end of August could potentially be quiet, and we might not see too much. Now, obviously, it's summer. So you still will have that chance, but for the most part, it's not going to be anything bad. at all. And there might be actually be a good amount of time towards South Carolina might not really be inside of any sort of shower or thunderstorm activity for the entire state. But again, over 300 hours out, so I really shouldn't be making assumptions like that. But that's it for the long-term future. Let's go on real quick. Before we get into the tropics, let's go on and talk about the temperatures real quick. And because I was talking about how warm-up would be occurring. As you can see, it's cooler than average up there in the upstate, warmer than average in the coastal regions, and that will, still kind of continue a little bit, but you're seeing a lot more of that warmer than average temperatures start to pop up, especially as you get into this weekend, on the 15th, the 16th. You can see a lot of that warmer than average temperatures take over. Even though, yes, like I said, still some cooler than average patches, but it's mainly taken over by warm air, and that will continue all the way through around August the 19th, the 20th, but once we get through around like the 20th and the 21st, that cooler than average temperatures will be making a return, and it'll last a couple of days, but that warm air and cold air will just be battling it out by that point as you go into the end of August. So we'll see what happens there, but I mean, it's just going to be back and forth in terms of warmer than average or cooler than average, just as you move through. And another thing that you can look at as well is the Climate Prediction Center, as they have the next 6 to 10 days. The next 6 to 10 days they have, let me go in and move to this one. Next 6 to 10 days they have us in above average. This is for August the 18th through August the 22nd, which is part of that weekend that goes for Monday going into Friday. They have us for being above average for the most part, and if you move through the next 8 to 14 days, for some of us near normal, some of us will be in the above average category. This is from August the 20th going into August the 26th, so that's another thing to look for as we get those higher than average temperatures as well, and that will cause some heat advisory criteria, as temperatures, especially those heat index values, will be back up into the 105 to 110 degree mark. But that's it for just our long-term future and the temperature. We talked about that. We talked about the scattered shower activity that will continue. We talked about excessive rainfall. So now let's go in and talk about the tropics. One of the main things that's been going on in the weather world is the tropics. Obviously, we have Tropical Storm Erin right here. It's a 45 mile per hour storm, 1,006 millibars in terms of its central pressure, and it's moving west at 22 miles per hour. So the discussion for right now pretty much just says Erin could move close enough to the northern Leeward Islands, Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico over this weekend to produce some impacts on those islands. However, the magnitude of those impacts is still not known, and interest there should continue to monitor the process. There is even a greater uncertainty in what impacts might occur in ports of the Greater Antilles, the Bahamas, and the east coast of the United States, and Bermuda next week as we approach the climatological peak of hurricane season. And it says, this is the opportune time to ensure that your preparedness plans are in place. So, pretty much all that it said is that for now, we just still are too far out for the East Coast. Now, we're getting a little bit closer for over there, like it said, for Puerto Rico and for the Leeward Islands and for the Virgin Islands. So it's getting closer for them, as that's going to be this weekend. But if it was to impact us, it would be past this weekend. And so that's why it's still too far out for now. It would be like another 7 to 8, 9 days before it would be close, and we know, yes, okay, we would know, yes, this would happen and all that stuff. So that's the reason why. And you can even see by the cone as well, if you want to look at it right here. You can see everything inside of this kind of just like white background, or kind of like the clear background. That is kind of like the shorter track, and the low pressure, the central low pressure, can go in anywhere inside of that area. I can see it better over here real quick. This area right here inside of the non-dashed part, this is like the kind of like the lesser time frame, or just the closer time, like the next 3-4 days or so. And it can go anywhere, obviously, inside of here, but the main part is this one over here, which is the dash area. That pretty much is just places to where the storm eye could actually go. The storm eye can go up here, it could go over here, it could go over here, it can go over here, it can go over here. It just matters on where in the world it goes to. And the reason why it's so big and why it's so inconsistent is if you go on and look at the hurricane models right now, they still are a bit kind of like on the western side. You have one that's completely over here on the eastern side. You have some that's directly in the middle, and that's why it's so hard to say exactly what in the world and where in the world it's going to go to. But if you go even into the GFS one, this one shows pretty much it's starting off down here, which is already where it is. It pushes its way through. Yes, you do have some outliers still in there, and I believe there was some earlier on the Euro, which I'll show that one in just a second, of some getting very close to the US. But this is just the GFS one. This is the one that I show when I talk about the long-term future, but most of it, again, just has it curving out the sea, not making any sort of impacts and like main concern like damaging winds or flash flooding or anything like that for us. Probably just rip currents for the most part. And here's the intensity model guidance as well. You can see that for sure it will become a hurricane. I think that that's not really too much up for debate anymore. And possibly still a major hurricane, even though they do have a forecast to become a major hurricane, things can change. And some models probably don't even have it becoming a major hurricane at all. You can see them down here. So there is still that chance, but will it become a hurricane? I believe so, absolutely will become one. The main question is just where will it go? And this is another example right here. If you look at this one, you can see that this one's a lot more on the more widespread scale in terms of just will it go more east, will it go more west, will it go more center? Because you have some over here in the east that, trains even to the east of Bermuda, and you have some that goes over Bermuda. You have some that goes right in between, obviously, the U.S. coast and then also Bermuda. And then you have some going all the way over here to the U.S. coast, impacting us and making a landfall in SC. So the main thing that also I'm going to be paying attention to, obviously, is the models going to shift further east? Are they going to shift further west? Are they going to stay the same? And they've been looking, and honestly, especially last night, they were shifting a lot more south and west, which obviously is not a great thing for us. But the majority of them still go up to that north and east. So that is a good thing to hear, though. But that just shows that we still are just too far out to talk about that. And then we can also go on and look at what each individual model run says as well. If you go on over here to the rainfall real quick, and you can see on this one, we're just going to look over here at the western Atlantic real quick. As you go on and push this forward, you can see that overall, there it goes over there, and it kind of just makes its way through, becomes a major hurricane, and just moves its way through that. This one is the GFS, the one that we just looked at, but it has it pretty far west. You can see it's under the PM time frame, the AM PM time frame, on around August the 19th, and that's still around 7 days out. You can go to the Euro as well. Euro has this one going a bit more to the west, and actually getting like pretty strong. Not Category 5, but definitely try to make a run for Category 4. Even it gets around like 934, 933-ish. But that one goes a little bit further west. You also have the AI one, the ECAI one, which this one is probably the furthest west. It has it under the plus sign over here. And it still is pretty strong. And you see that the weaker ones are on the more western side. And we were explaining that yesterday, and I was explaining that yesterday. The weaker that this storm is, the more chance that it will have to go more towards us just because of that ridge that's on top of it. But I'll explain that more in just a second. And then you have the CMC, this one over here, also pretty far east, and then the icon as well, pretty far east, and nothing really too much there. So again, models still all over the place. You do have, like I was just saying, that ridge that was above. Obviously hurricanes fight for latitude, and so they want to get up north more quickly. And so obviously the stronger it is, the higher chance it will have of getting norther quicker. So that's why I was talking about the weaker it gets, the less chance it will have of breaking through and going north, and the more chance it will have of going west. And so that's why you always see hurricane going up to the north, and you always see them, whether it come from the Gulf, move its way up, or rather if you have it from the Atlantic, it curves, it makes its way through, but it always goes up to the north because they always try to fight for latitude. That is it, though. I mean, there's nothing else really for me to talk about here for the tropics. I mean, except for, I believe that I broke that down pretty well. But if you have any more questions or anything like that, you can ask me. Speaking of questions, let's go on right now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9. Yes, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off here. Let me see if I can see that real quick. Mr. Chris starts us off tonight by saying, "Good evening, everyone. Had some rain this afternoon here in Moncks Corner. Thank you. First off, thank you so much for that weather update. I'm glad that you got some rainfall because I know you were talking about how it was pretty dry. At least you were talking about it at least like if it was not this week, it was last week. You were talking about how it was dry over there near Moncks Corner. So I'm glad that you did get some rainfall. Mr. Oliver says, "Good evening. No rain at my house today, but it was hot. There's a lot of floods currently happening in Chattanooga. Hope that does not happen here." Well, we do have that isolated risk for flash flooding as we move through, and if you're up there in the upstate, you have that scattered risk of flash flooding. So will it be as bad? I don't know exactly the extent to the flooding over there. Yeah, they do have flash flood warnings out, and it's actually observed right now. Between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall has fallen, and an additional half an inch to an inch is possible. Life-threatening flash flooding was reported by emergency management in Chattanooga. So yeah, it's always possible. It's always possible. Even if you have those marginal risks, it's still possible for you to potentially get some of that dangerous flash flooding, especially if you're inside the slight risk. Mr. Anthony says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you." Mr. Chris says, "Please remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Share it with everyone you know. Helps the channel grow and gets vital information out during needed time." That's especially needed, especially during hurricane season, to where most people are now asking, and especially with Aaron now out there. A lot of people probably are now going to be asking, what's going on with it? This is a vital time for you to go and hit the share button and share it with all of the people that you do know. My Aunt Lula then says, "Good evening, everyone. Lots of clouds." Yes, that cloud cover will continue. Thad says, "Good evening, Joseph. I trust all is well with you." It was kind of hot starting out the day, but midway we had a 50-50 sun to overcast. We thought we would get a little rain. However, sadly, we did not. If I am not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I didn't give you a chance of rain yesterday night. I believe so. But, if you would have gotten some, that still would have been good because I know for a fact y'all still do need the rainfall. My Aunt Shirley then says, "Hello to all. Have a blessed and hopefully a sunny week." Thank you so much for that. Ms. Tolliver says, "I felt like a heat advisory should have been issued today. It just matters on the criteria. For the Charleston, I believe it has to be around 108 to be a heat advisory. And then for an excessive heat warning, that has to be like 115. So I do know, for different National Weather Service offices, it's different. But for now, it wasn't high enough for a heat advisory today." Trail says, "Greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. Rainy, busy day here. Productive outcome. That's great to hear. It was heavy thunder, no rain a few times here today. Later came the heavy rain, unable to see while driving." And then, how is Saturday looking? Any rain? I had to step away from the chat and I missed Saturday's update. For Saturday, that is on the 16th. I'm going to talk about that real quick. Over here for Saturday, since that was the last chat. Not the northeast, but the southeast. Moving into around that 16th time frame. I mean, it does look like rainfall will most likely be in the forecast for Saturday. It's for a good amount of Saturday as well. So if you had anything outside that you had planned, and I'm not, definitely have it on watch for now, because rainfall definitely will be possible. But in terms of like high temperatures for Saturday though, for you, be like in the high 80s, low 90s for the most part, and then as you go into the nighttime hours, mid 70s. But that's it. Thank you. No problem for that at all. No problem for that at all. So since we have talked about that, I do want to bring attention again to the poll as well, as we have a very important poll that is out right now. It is about the live streams, obviously, that happen at 9 o'clock p.m. Make sure that you vote in them. Obviously, I'm seeing some people still have not voted in it yet. Please go on and vote in it if you have not already, because that is a very important poll that I want to hear everyone's opinions on, and I want to get the most feedback for. Starting off with our 4 locations outside of South Carolina, we have San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Duncan, Oklahoma. Those are the 4 locations that we talk about outside of South Carolina, because we have people from those areas that do in fact watch almost nightly. Starting off with San Antonio first, low temperatures tonight 78, high temperatures tomorrow at 99, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 79. No precipitation is expected tonight, and a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow during the day and tomorrow night as well. There is indeed no threat for excessive rainfall as you move through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But what about tonight going into tomorrow? It's kind of interesting because you actually do have a chance tonight. I don't understand why. Just because there's no risk for any sort of precipitation tonight. But there is some tomorrow, so maybe they're talking about more early in the morning potentially. But it apparently does go through tonight and then also tomorrow. You do have a chance for some minor flooding there. For excessive rainfall, not for excessive rainfall, but for severe weather, you do not have any risk for any sort of severe weather. Now for Raleigh, North Carolina, with low temperatures tonight 73, high temperatures tomorrow at 85, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 73. Chance of thunderstorms tonight. Showers are likely tomorrow during the day, and a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night as well. For severe weather, there is no severe weather that is expected at this time. And if you move up over here to excessive rainfall, yesterday you had a chance for excessive rainfall pretty much all 5 days, and that actually still does happen, but on that day 5 day now, because we were talking about yesterday, so day 5 would actually have been Friday yesterday, now it's Saturday. But you have an isolated chance for some flash flooding, or some isolated flash flooding that's possible on tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday you actually take a little bit of a break, and you no longer have any threat for any sort of excessive rainfall. Now going on into Philadelphia, with low temperatures tonight 73, high temperatures tomorrow at 91, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 73. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow, but patchy fog is possible as you go through tonight and tomorrow as well. Same thing for South Carolina, as there is a chance for some patchy fog as you move through tonight. But that is it in terms of Philadelphia, in terms of, because you have no severe weather, and then in terms of excessive rainfall, you do have a chance, but that is for Wednesday, tomorrow, and that's it. And then Duncan, Oklahoma being the last one, with low temperatures tonight 70, high temperatures tomorrow at 91, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 71. No precipitation is expected at all. And if we go on and talk about the next 5 days, for excessive rainfall, nothing there. For severe weather, nothing there. So that's it for the 4 locations. What's going on throughout the entire U.S.? Heavy to excessive rainfall over the southern Appalachian may bring areas of flooding into Wednesday. High temperatures are in place through Wednesday across parts of the western U.S. and New England. Tropical storm Erin is forecast to become a hurricane by late this week as it moves west across the Central Atlantic coast, Central Atlantic Ocean. Monitor forecast for anybody in Puerto Rico or the U.S. East Coast, as that will be a potential problem. But that's it for just what's going on throughout the entire U.S., as there's nothing else really to talk about there. I mean, I guess you may have some air quality alerts still going on from the wildfires up there in Canada, still going on from Minnesota and parts of like New York City and down into Philadelphia as well. So now that that's all out of the way, let me go and check out the chat one more time. I don't see anything else, so let's go on now and talk about the poll. So, the poll inside the chat right now, I said, should I move the time of these evening forecast updates to 8 o'clock p.m.? Still, not everybody has voted. I don't know why, but for now, it says that, I mean, at least for the majority actually wants to keep it to 9 p.m. I was just, I was just got it brought up to me that I potentially should move it up to 8 o'clock just because that would most likely when more people would be available. And, 9 o'clock, people are starting to get ready to go to bed and stuff like that. But if I did it by 8 o'clock, it would be earlier. More people would be able to see it. But at least from the majority now, most people wanted to keep it to 9. So I guess we will keep it at 9. Unless things change. But for now, 9 o'clock will stay. But let's also remember, again, I've said it multiple times, if you have not hit the like button, please go in and do so. We've had 37 people tune in, and we only have 12 likes. I don't know what's going on there either. Why 37 people tune in and we only have 12 likes. But, obviously, I can't force anybody to. 25 people tuned in, didn't hit the like button or anything like that. But, like I said, I can't force anybody to do anything. Again, also share it. This is also a very vital time to go on and share it because obviously with the tropics going on, with the obviously the temperatures rising, and then obviously excessive rainfall being here, flash flooding being here, that would be a very vital time to go on and send it to somebody that's inside of South Carolina, or even if you know it, anybody in San Antonio, Raleigh, Philadelphia, or Duncan, you can let them know. But that's all that I have to say. Because I've already been here for a good amount of time now, and I need to go in and end it, so y'all can go in and get out of here for tonight. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening. Oh, top fans for tonight: Mr. Chris was number 1, Trail was number 2, and then Mr. Oliver was number 3. Congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans for tonight. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Wednesday morning forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday.